Anyway, my loves, just in the middle of our story, my computer froze. Just when we were getting to the part about the people with bald heads in the dark place, with the sharp houses. That was a good place to stop anyway. So as I was saying when I left off, the man in the front had a very bald head, and they all had sharp teeth. Oh, what might they be, people in this strange land? This, by the way, is part 4 of Fortunately the Milk by Neil Gaiman. If you haven't listened to the other ones, go back and listen now because you'll want to know where this story's been. It's an incredible story. Anyway, for those of you who have listened, let's carry on. So all the people had sharp teeth, and they were very pallid. Do you know what that means? That means they were very pale. They didn't, because it's a dark place. Maybe they just don't see the sunlight. "We are vampires," they said. "What is this? Who are you? Answer us, or we will bisect you." "Well, I'm Professor Steg," boomed the Stegosaurus. "And this is my assistant. We are on an important mission, and I'm trying to get back to the present. My assistant is trying to get home to the future for breakfast." At the word breakfast, all vampires looked very excited. "Oh, we have not had our breakfast," they told us. "We normally have wiggly worms with orange juice on them. Orange juice makes worms even wigglier, like wandering spaghetti. But if we cannot eat worms, we will eat assistant or even roast professor." Oh, they're not the nicest people. Oh, look at those sharp teeth. Look at those sharp teeth. Holy cow, can you see them? They are vampires. One of the vampires took out a fork and looked me up and down in a hungry sort of way. The baldest, most bulging-eyed, rattiest of the vampires said, "What is this box?" "Oh, it's my finest invention," said Professor Steg proudly. But I interrupted. "It's to keep sandwiches in," I said. "Sandwiches?" said the vampire. "Sandwiches," I said with as much certainty as I could muster. "We thought it was a time machine," said the head vampire with a slight sharp smile. "And we could use it to invade the world." "Definitely sandwiches," I told him. "What happens if I press this button then?" asked the lady vampire. She had long black hair that covered most of her face and peered out at the world with one suspicious eye. She pressed the button. We went forward 6 hours in time. "See," said the professor happily. "All this place needs to brighten it up is a little sunshine." "Do you think so?" The head vampire said, "What?" and dissolved into a cloud of oily black smoke. So did all his friends. Oh, vampires are like vampires. They don't like the light. "Yes," I said, "it is a nice place here after all, in the daylight." The professor tinkered with the jewels and the string and the buttons, and then he said, "I think we've got it all properly fine-tuned now. This next press should bring you back to your own time, place, and breakfast." But before the tip of his tail could touch the button, a voice said, "I'll explain later. Fate of the world at stake." A hand grabbed, and the milk, which I had carried safely for so long, was gone. I turned in time to catch a glimpse of the fine-looking gentleman with his back to me, holding my milk, and then the hole in space through which he had reached was closed. "My milk!" He said he'd explain it later," said the professor. I'd be inclined to believe him. The hole in space opened again, and a voice shouted, "Catch!" and the milk came rocketing through. Fortunately, the milk struck me in the stomach, and in clutching my hands to my belly, I caught the milk. Phew! There, said the professor, everything is back to normal. He said he'd explain it later, I pointed out. That wasn't much of an explanation. But it's not later yet, said Professor Stagg. It's still now. It won't be later until later. He was arranging pebbles and stones and string on the top of the time machine box. Final coordinates entered, he said, and then it's off to your house for breakfast. And does that mean there's a stegosaurus in a hot air balloon outside? I asked my dad. Oh, there is not, he said, for reasons that will become apparent. I think that there should have been some nice vampires, said my sister wistfully. Nice, handsome, misunderstood vampires. There were not, said my father. The kids are enjoying the story, aren't they? Of course, it's their dad, so they're used to him. Does your dad tell long tales like this or have this kind of an imagination? I bet some of your dads do. And some mums do too. And I might know a grandma or two that has some imagination. Would you like to press the button? Said Professor Stagg. I pressed the red button. There was an ear-popping noise and a flicker of ears, and I was floating in a balloon basket above the intersection of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane. I could see our house from above. I could see the bicycles in the back garden. I could see the rabbit hutch. We're here, I said, and I patted Professor Stagg on the back ridge plates. It was very nice having you as a traveling companion. Oh, said the professor, because there was a familiar sort of a thumb noise, and before I had a chance to press the red button, we were deposited, balloon and all, on the enormous metal deck of a flying saucer, with a number of very grumpy-looking green globby people staring at us with too many eyes. They did not look pleased. Oh, now, if you've been following along, you remember the flying saucer from the beginning, from part 1. That was the first people he encountered on this journey to get milk. Ha, ha, said several of the globby people at the same time. You thought you had escaped us, and you were wrong. Now you must sign the planet over to us so that we can remodel it. We will take out all the trees for start and put in plastic flamingos. Why? We like plastic flamingos. We think they are the highest and finest art form that Earth has achieved. They are tidier than trees. Also, we are going to replace the clouds with scented candles. We like scented candles too, exclaimed a huge green globby person who looked like he was mostly made of snot. We also like decorative plates, said another. We will put a decorative plate up where the moon is now. A really big decorative plate showing landmarks of the world. Look at these people. Like they're redecorating ideas of the world. And we will replace them all with landmarks of the world, with decorative plates, with pictures of landmarks on them too. So the Eiffel Tower will be replaced by a large plate with a picture of the Eiffel Tower. And Australia will be placed by a really big, seriously big plate with Australia on it. Also, we will replace all your mountains with throw cushions and the smallest, globbliest thing of all with triumph in his glutinous voice. Flamingos instead of trees. Not a lot of shade there. We have learned a lot from our previous meeting, said some globs that were sticking to a wall. If you look over there, you will see that the door to the space-time continuum you used to escape through last time is now securely locked. Oh, remember? That's how he escaped the aliens. He went through the door, the space-time continuum, even though it said, do not open. It was definitely locked. It had a huge padlock on it saying, keep out. On it in unfriendly red letters, there was also chains around a tape that said, "Do not cross," and a handwritten note from that, a notice that said, "For your convenience, please use another door." Escape was impossible. Oh dear, there's no getting out of this one, or so it seems. "Also, we have depowered your time machine." I looked at the professor. His armored back flaps were drooping, and his tail was, well, not actually between his legs because stegosauruses aren't made that way, but if they were, it would have been. "We have been tracking your movements through time and space," said a large globby alien in front of a console with a screen on it. "Now, see what happens when I press this Grundledorfer," said a particularly drippy alien. It was half sticking to the wall next to a large black shiny button. "It's called a button," I said. "Nonsense. We named it after our brood aunt, Nessie Grundledorfer," said the globby aliens. That particularly drippy alien pressed the black button on the metal wall with something that might have been a finger and might have just been a long strand of snot. Oh, these guys are kind of gross. There was a crackle, and there was a fizz, and standing around us in attitudes of anger and irritation were several pirates, some of the black-haired people from the jungle, and a very unhappy-looking volcano god, and a large bowl filled with piranhas and some vampires. Oh, how did the aliens do that? They've brought back all the creatures that he ran into on this adventure. They're all somehow connected. "I'm not sure I understand what the piranhas are doing," said my sister. Remember, the piranhas weren't supposed to be there. "Oh, they were from a narrow escape earlier that I forgot to mention," said our father. "Fortunately, the milk floated at a crucial moment, and it all ended for the best." "I thought I might," I said. "Uh-oh," I said. "Prepare to be keel-hauled, you scurvy dogs," shouted the pirates. "Let us now sacrifice them both to the great Splod," shouted the men with shiny black hair. "They stole my eye twice," rumbled mighty Splod. "Vivants those villains and varmints violently wound up," proclaimed a tall vampire with long fingernails. The piranhas said nothing, but they thrashed around in their bowl ominously. What does ominously means? Well, it means, this could be scary. "Doomed," said Professor Steg. "We cannot escape. They have frozen us in time and depowered us. Even the mighty time machine can do no more than open a small window in time and space, smaller than either of us could get through." "But can you do it?" I asked. "Open a little window in time to our last location?" Of course, but what good would that do?" "Quickly," I said, "do it." Professor Steg pushed the button on the box with the tip of his nose. There was a zoomp and a plop, and a window opened in space and time large enough for an arm to get through. I reached into it. "I'll explain later," I said. "Fate of the world at stake." I grabbed the milk from me 15 minutes earlier through the tiny space-time portal. "You must like milk a lot," said the globby aliens, "but that craving for lactic liquids will not make us take pity on you or let you go and spare your badly designed planet." "It should," I said. "What am I holding in my left hand?" "The milk," they said. "And what am I holding in my right hand?" They paused. Then one alien, so green and so small and so globby and crusted that he might have been an enormous snot bubble blown by an elephant with a terrible head cold, said, "The same milk from 15 minutes earlier." "Exactly," I said. "Now think about this one very carefully. What would happen if I touched these two things together?" Oh, remember what Professor Steg said about touching two things together from different times? What did he say? He said that the universe might come to an end. There was another option too, but I can't remember that one. But maybe Maybe it'll come up. The globby aliens went a very pale green. The pirates, shiny black hair men, and the piranhas looked at them puzzled, seeking some kind of explanation. And the piranhas looked at them puzzled. Oops. As did the vampires. Sorry. The pirates and the piranhas looked at them puzzled, seeking some kind of explanation, as did the vampires. If two things that are the same thing touch, proclaimed the volcano god, then the whole universe shall end. Thus saith the great and unutterable Splod. How does a volcano know so much about trans-temporal meta-science? Asked one of the pale green aliens. There's the aliens up there, and there's the great volcano. There's some set of teeth that volcano has. Being a geological formation gives you a lot of time to think, said Splod. I guess so. Doesn't move. Also, I subscribe to a number of learned journals. I coughed in what I hoped was an ominous sort of way. Well, I asked. What he said, admitted the green globby aliens. The thing about the universe ending. So, I told them, unless you wish to spend the rest of your lives in a universe that no longer exists, you had better return things to the way they are and then go away. The aliens looked at each other. They grinned at each other. One of them pressed the Grundledorfer. The vampires, pirates, piranhas, volcano god, and the worshippers of the volcano god were gone. What if, suggested one of the green globbies aliens hopefully, we only redecorated the southern hemisphere? Not a chance, I said. Now, release us or the milk touches itself, and then go away. Leave this planet forever. The aliens looked at me, and then they looked at each other, and then they sighed with a noise like 100 elephantine snot balloons all deflating at once. What do you think they do? This is a good time to leave off, lovies. Catch you next time for the rest.